Hello, this is Adam Halpern from Indicator Warehouse. So today we're going to talk about using the SuperTrend as the trailing stop of choice for Profit Manager. It has some unique capabilities, unique functionality that you have to be aware of. Notice right out of the box, it only has one dot that it works with because it's defining the prevalent trend. So you'll see that any of the other trailing stops that you have a choice to use, let's just say ATR, for example, has two dots, right? It shows you if you were going short, this is where the ATR with its parameters would start to trail. If you were going long, it would be here. But when you switch to SuperTrend, because it is a trend-based trailing stop, it is only going to have one dot. Now, why is that important? It's important because you may have heard this saying before, don't fight the trend. Well, if for some reason you want to, you're just not going to be able to if trade management is on in this case. Because what will happen is, let's say you got in here because you thought you were going to go long. You put your stop down here. Once you get in, it's going to grab that stop and take it up to the SuperTrend dot. In fact, I'll show you what I mean. So let's say that you have some entry system that's telling you for whatever reason this is a strong support area and you're expecting a bounce to the long side. So you want to position yourself to get in now. So if
Order pending. Order pending.
Tighten it up a little bit. All right, so for whatever reason, my entry signal system, my methodology, whatever it may be, says, hey, this thing's going to turn around and it's going to go long. Now here's what's going to happen. If you get in, it's going to grab that dot and it's going to take it right up here.
Order filled.
Boom, and you're taken out immediately. That makes an unhappy customer. So how do we get around that? Well, first of all, most people that use the SuperTrend like to see the historical dots in play so that you can see where the SuperTrend is actually moving. So I'll show you that also, and then I'll show you how to get around this fighting the trend bit. So if you want to see the way that the SuperTrend is historically shown on a chart, come into the default settings, go to number 20, show trail dots before entry, change that to all. Now normally you would use this because you're trying to figure out different parameter settings for your trailing stops, whatever. But in this case, for the SuperTrend, it makes it look like what a lot of people are used to in actually seeing the historical dots on the screen. You'll see that right now, SuperTrend is saying, no, you should be going short. You should not be going long. Well, for whatever reason, you have a system that says, no, I want to go long. The only way you can deal with that is to come up here and turn off trade management. Okay, so what I've done now is turned off manage trade. So if I want to, I can get in.
Order pending.
Put in a stop.
Order pending.
And it should not affect the SuperTrend in the Profit Manager. Let's see what happens.
Order filled.
All right, so notice that the stop is not moved. So at this point, you're going to need to trail your stop manually. Now, once SuperTrend changes and says you're in a go long position, well then you can turn trade management back on. So let's see what happens. One thing I'll mention while waiting here is in SuperTrend, once you're in a position, the way you know that trade management is on or off, and this is, by the way, for any of our trailing stops, there'll be hollow dots. That's how you know trade management's off. So at this point, you can see prices crossed over the SuperTrend line. There's no problem with us being long, so I'm going to turn it on. Now what you'll see is that Profit Manager will take over the trade. So now SuperTrend in Profit Manager is managing this trade. And the way you know this is because these dots are no longer hollow. So let's see what the SuperTrend trailing stop would do for a position like this. It's really a very interesting trailing stop. It uses a combination of ATR volatility and also the HMA moving average. Very interesting stop. So again, the point I wanted to make is if you want to get in to a trade using the SuperTrend algorithm and it is going against you visually, you do not want to have the trade management engaged, otherwise you'll be taken out immediately. But once your move is aligned with what SuperTrend is saying, turn it on and let it do its magic.
Order filled.
So there you have it. All right, so that's SuperTrend. And thank you very much for joining us today. I'll come back and I will show some more videos on Profit Manager at a later date.